This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome to the latest edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churco. And I am not joined by my brother yet again for a 20th consecutive week or so. I believe it is actually 20 straight weeks now where he hasn't joined me. 20 or so, I mean, give or take a few weeks. But anyways, it is episode number 30 of the podcast as well, with that being said. And it's a jam-packed edition of the pod for episode 30 with three different guests. And that would be, first, Anthony Tyus III, who recently committed to Northwestern. He is a three-star running back from Portage Northern who will be a senior in the fall. And he's a tremendously talented kid on and off the football field with a 3.93 GPA. And also, he is an individual that aspires to become a cardiac surgeon one day. So definitely a great kid on and off the field, a bright kid on and off the field with huge aspirations for his life after football as well. But at least for the next 4 years after this upcoming fall, he'll be attending Northwestern. So a great Big Ten institution academically and athletically. So congrats to Anthony on that commitment that he announced this past Thursday. And then also joining me on this week's edition of Sundays of Dominic and Vito are Jenna Rose and Jason Ross, two individuals from SIL Lions, two talented individuals as well that are young. And all three of these individuals younger than me. I am young myself, just turned the big 27, a huge milestone birthday, obviously. Not really. But these three people that I just mentioned, who are my guests on this week's episode, are all younger than me and all are talented and multifaceted as well. So these three have great futures ahead of them. And Jenna Rose is the video interviewer, a content producer for the site at SIL Lions, while Jason is a great writer, and he's an aspiring broadcaster and play-by-play man, specifically with a great booming voice, and he would love to call NHL games one day. So I know his huge dream event would be to call a Stanley Cup Finals one day, which on the career path that he's currently on, he definitely has a shot of achieving that one day. So really look forward to him continuing to grow. Jenna as an interviewer continuing to grow. And they're both, once again, already very capable and talented individuals. Jenna having just graduated from Lawrence Tech, and then Jason currently there and has a semester or two remaining at Lawrence Tech. So Jason and Jenna, bright futures ahead of the two of them. And also with my first guest, the guy I want to get to right now, and that would once again be Anthony Tyus III. Hey, congrats once again on committing to Northwestern, a great school there in the Big Ten, academically, athletically, and, hope the best for you moving forward, man. Really do, to start off here. And, hey, with that being said, so let's just get right through it. Why did you commit to Northwestern?
I chose Northwestern University, Big Cats, because they had a feel of wanting to celebrate me, not just tolerate me. Being on Zoom calls with Coach Fitz, Coach Aini Bahaki, and the rest of the staff, and like a player panel, it just seemed like home, another home away from home. And the virtual visit was amazing and all. Unfortunately, not being able to go on any official or unofficial visits to Northwestern was hard. But yesterday, my family and I were able to go walk around, look from the outside at the facilities and look at the beach and the lake. And it just being on campus just felt like it just was right. And just interacting with the coaches and talking to them, it just seemed like Northwestern is the place to be.
And before you decided on Northwestern, was there one school that stood out to you that you really thought hard and long about choosing before you made that decision to commit to Northwestern ultimately?
Yes, sir. There was three other schools. One would be Iowa State, another would be Central Michigan, and then another was Bowling Green. Iowa State, I had the same feeling. They wanted to celebrate me, not tolerate me. A great place. Virtual visit was amazing, but Northwestern connected with my family more, and then I also wanted my family to be able to come to all my home games and just come see me play. But also, the head coach just seemed to interact with me more and was just more of a family guy than Central Michigan, of course. Carrying my dad's legacy was hard, and being up there and living up Mount Pleasant for part of my life just always kind of like growing up as a Chippewa, I just felt like part of me was always there. But the biggest thing, just Northwestern, just like I just fell in love with the campus, the virtual visit. My family did too, and my brothers, they lit up like when they found out that we had Northwestern has a private beach. They're like, "Oh, Trey's so lucky he has a private beach." Just seeing the excitement on my family. And Bowling Green, they were also another school, mag school. Scott Lofier, the head coach, talked to me a lot and knew my dad back when he coached. But the only thing that really got me to choose Northwestern, the biggest thing, was that they invested in not only me, but also my family and my future, not only as a football player, but also as a man after football.
And how about Pat Fitzgerald? I mean, he seems like a player's coach as well to talk to get to know. And what has it been like talking to Coach Fitz so far?
Talking to Coach Fitz, it's been amazing. He's a family guy, goofs around a lot, and he just seemed honest and down to earth type of guy. And another thing that caught my attention, my dad's, because my dad's done a lot of research on football, things like that, and coaching thing. Coach Fitz isn't a coach to just leave and just take another offer somewhere. He's invested not only in his players and his coaches, but also the team itself, and wanting to create a future. And just seeing him invested and being a family guy and joking around and being honest and straightforward, just his type of personality just really, really made me want to be a part of his program and want to be a player under him and coached by him.
And then I bet him being an alum, right? He went to Northwestern, played there, excelled there, and then being the coach for all this time now, for all these years, he's been the head man at Northwestern. They had to make kind of an impact as well, as you were kind of already saying yourself there, Anthony. And I can see where he's made an impact on a lot of people, and positively too, on and off the field. And what do you aim on achieving off the field as well while you're at Northwestern?
I want to become a surgeon, a doctor, a cardiac surgeon. So going to the medical field, pre-med, a lot of school, but willing to do it. I always just want to be a surgeon. They have a big brother, little brother system. So in like a week or two, maybe they'll get me with somebody and talk about what I should major, things like that. And talking to other guys who have not only played football, but also want to become some type of doctor. So, yeah.
That's very impressive, man. You got to be pretty darn smart then. I mean, what's your GPA at Portage Northern then? It has to be a pretty darn good GPA.
Yes, sir. 3.93.
That's awesome, man. Keep it up, man. And you must know by now, obviously you do that. It's about the work ethic inside and outside the classroom. And I think legacy football, where I met you, has kind of taught you that as well. And can you reflect upon that a little bit as well? Playing for Legacy Adidas Elite, for Legacy KZoo and Caleb Hauser and Justin Sasante there at Legacy Football. What have they taught you about life on the football field, but also life off the football field?
I'll start with life on the football field. In general, them teaching me the fundamentals of like catching the ball, running routes, and understanding the playbook just really helped, and it evolved my game as a running back. As all college coaches in the NFL too, they want running backs that can not only run the ball, cut things like that, but also catch the ball. A great example would be like Shaquan Barkley or Christian McCaffrey, and being able to do that and develop a good relationship with them, and then off the field, they've really helped me become a man in a way. Helping me with character and how I can get too emotional and wear my emotions on my sleeve too much, and tell me how I need to calm down and just understand like there's life after football, and just helping me be able to calm myself down and represent not only myself but also my family in terms of character.
And how about playing alongside all that talent that you have at Portage Northern for Legacy Kalamazoo? Incredible talent. Legacy Adidas Elite. I mean, incredible pool of talent too. How about all that, playing alongside all of those guys and what you've learned from the stiff competition involved with all those different parties?
Yes, sir. The first thing that comes to mind is iron sharpens iron. Being around those guys is not only fun, amazing, and just a goofy, relaxed experience, but playing with other people who were as good or better or a little worse, just all of us coming together and making each other better and just laughing and just playing the game we all love. Just with the Kalamazoo team, obviously I knew a lot more of them straight up at first, but just being able to play with kids from other schools and develop a relationship was just amazing. KZoo going to the championship and unfortunately taking a loss, but just still playing with them throughout those 5 to 6 week period was amazing. Then Adidas Elite was also a great opportunity. Getting to know those guys from all over the state and just seeing like the best group of guys in the state playing in the regional things and things like that. It is a great atmosphere and a great honor to play with those guys.
How have you been coping with the pandemic, and how about your family? Has your family been affected? And I hope you're staying safe and healthy, man, you and your family. But how has that been for you, dealing with these different times with the pandemic?
I would have to say I'm pretty fortunate. I'm happy. A lot more family time, as my family and my brothers were always ripping and running here and there to different sports, and just being able to like sit down sometimes at the dinner table and just eat together, talk to each other. And that really helped in my recruiting because we had more downtime to talk as a family and look at my options and the pros and cons and things like that. And then just being able to also work out because I'm fortunate enough that my dad has invested in me and my brothers and buying us equipment and things like that in advance. So us already having a workout, a gym in our garage was also a blessing. And then having top-notch equipment, things like that, that most players don't have, it's just really a blessing and an honor. And to be able to run at a park that's right behind our house that's not far, and it's been great. It's been a great experience. It's been rough not being able to go on visits and things like that, but then not only can you look at the negatives, but you have to see the positives in life. And I just feel like it's been hard, but it's been a great opportunity.
What's been the biggest lesson taught by your dad with his playing experiences in the past? What's been that biggest lesson from him to you?
The biggest lesson I would say probably is no excuses, just execution. One of his quotes, it speaks to me in numerous ways, not just on the field, but in life and every aspect. And just hearing it and repeating in my head, waking up and saying it, going to sleep and saying it, is just life's going to get hard. And you have to learn how to not make those excuses and say you mess up, like say you lose a game, or that happened, that happened. You just got to execute in the moment, before and after. You have to prepare for the game. You have to prepare for life. Then you have to execute in life, execute in that game. And then after, you have to reflect on yourself, be honest with yourself, and then execute again. And just not necessarily going with the flow of life, just not making excuses, not making things seem a lot easier than they are, and just being honest with yourself, honest with life, honest on the field, and just executing.
And then your dad is a motivational speaker. So how can you ever not be motivated by your father then, right? I mean, he's always got a motivational tactic or tool, man, to get you out of bed and get the fire burning underneath you, right, man? And to just run through defenders, I know, on the football field as well.
Yes, sir. It's been amazing, honestly, having him as a dad. He's not only a dad, but a coach and just a pastor for me, a motivational speaker, and just really, really supports my brothers and I, my family in general, knowing his story and how far he's come and how he's turned his life around and how he's not only pouring into us, but also other people around the community and being a personal trainer to other kids. But when he's firing my brothers and I up, and it's just amazing because there's days, obviously, that everybody doesn't feel like doing anything. But then it's like that feeling is that excuse. So you need to execute it. Him working out with us every once in a while. And then the biggest thing is him being on the field, me making a big play, and not all players able to run over to their dad, but him hyping me up and getting me even more excited after I do a good play. Or if I mess up, him still helping me move on and just to execute, move on, next play. And just him being there the entire ride, ever since I told him I went to play in the NFL at 5, it's just been amazing. What he sacrificed for my brothers and I has just been a true honor and blessing to have him as a dad.
And he's in shape, man. I mean, and not just in shape, but he is built solid. I mean, who's in better shape, you or him? You have some competition, I know, there with your dad as well.
Yes, sir. What do you go? I've been as tall as him since freshman year now, and grew a few inches taller than him sophomore year. And now I weigh just as much as him, and just trying to get my arms bigger and catching up. And I'm obviously faster than him now, and my legs are bigger. They just got to get the upper body, start benching a little more, get a little more weight on there. But him working out with us and him being big has just really been a great role model inside the house. Oftentimes people have lots of role models outside the house and like celebrities and people who have made it, but being able to see a day-to-day role model, somebody who's not only in the football body, but also character-wise. My dad is a great man of character who loves to teach it and explain his life story to help us understand how to go about our life and how to show good character.
That's beautiful, man. And the love really must be deep between you and your father. And I love hearing that, man. Really do. And now your nickname, I got to get to this now. It's the A Train, correct?
Yes, sir.
The A Train. Speaking of beautiful, that's a beautiful nickname. I mean, for a running back too, there's like no better nickname than that. But hey, what's the origin story of it? How did you come up with that nickname for yourself, or was it somebody else that actually came up with that nickname for you?
I think my dad came up with it and explained it to me. Yeah, my dad most definitely came up to it, and I've always been bigger than kids in my class. Been blessed to have a bigger physique, and just always, I'm aggressive like my dad, but on the opposite side of the ball. My dad plays middle linebacker. I play running back, literally identical on the opposite side of the ball. His aggressiveness, I had that same aggressiveness, and I just want to run over people instead of, I'll outrun, make people miss. But if I had to choose between making people miss and running over, I would much rather run over people. It just gets me going. And honestly, I feel like in the game, when I run people over, I get a even more big head of steam, and I feel like I'm going faster. And my initials are AT3. I'm Anthony Tyus III, blessed to be named after my grandfather and my father. And So AT3 A-Train just came along, 8th grade year. No one really knew about it, but then my freshman year. And then sophomore year being my first year on varsity, it just really blew up. And I was running people over as I said I would and just being bigger and just showing my presence on the field, and it just really caught on.
Could you run over your dad right now if you had to? Could you pull it off?
Yes, sir, most definitely. He would say I couldn't, but I most definitely would. At least we would both fall sideways, but I really think I could run him over now.
So, with that being said, there's these bulldozing running backs right at the next level that do play. Is there that one guy, though, right now playing, or whomever it may be, that you really have molded your game after at the running back position?
I would say two people I've really molded my game after would be Derrick Henry and Shaquan Barkley. Derrick Henry, because not only have I been blessed to be big, but I'm more of a taller back, around 6'1 3/4, 6'2", and then Shaquan Barkley, because I'm able to be quick with my feet, and my dad's really helped me with my quickness and my hips and my speed. So being able not only to make people miss and outrun people, but also being big and able to get downhill. So watching highlights of them, and also many other running backs like Le'Veon Bell, but the main two would be Shaquan Barkley and Derrick Henry, who I've modeled my game after and put my own spin on it to make it A-Trains.
What is your best asset as a football player?
I think my best asset would be, honestly, off the field, it would be studying film. I have an eye for film, being able to break down my own, but not only my own position, but also other positions. So I think that one thing that really makes my game my own game is being able to not only break my position down, but the offensive linemen, the quarterbacks, and knowing what the receivers are doing, even the defense, being able to read holes and gaps. And that helps on the field as well. But I think the biggest thing specifically on the field would be me being able to do one cut, another cut in the box, and getting out, or maybe running somebody over, and just being able to find that hole and find that green and get out there.
So I'll leave you with this. What is one unique thing about you that many people do not know? And you can think about this one. I know it's kind of a difficult one, a thought-provoking one. So take your time to think about it as well.
Yes, sir. 1 second. I'll give you three things. One, I'm a nerd for studying film. I love watching film, not only my own games, but other people. I also like to record college and professional games. I'll watch them, record them, and go rewatch them. And then also, I love to play the violin. I stopped a while back. I got busy with my schedule, but I plan to maybe pick that up back again in college. But I played the violin in middle school, and I've always been pretty good at it. I don't know. I've just always been good at it. I've always loved to do that. And not many people know that about me, but yeah, the violin.
The violin, man, that is unique. I did not expect that, okay? But that's a great quality. That's a great asset. And how good are you then? And what can you play? Is there any, a popular song that you can play on that violin as well?
I would have to say right now I'm probably really rusty because I probably haven't touched the violin in a couple years. But I plan on I've had a lot of spare time now, and after committing and everything, I'll probably pick it back up and start playing again. But I'll probably call my old teacher and start working again. But I've just always really enjoyed playing the violin, not only for myself, but also for others. I just find a peacefulness in it.
I love it, man. We're all bigger than football, right? We're bigger than sports. And that defines it right there, what you just said. And Anthony Tyus III, great stuff from you, man. Congrats on your commitment to Northwestern, and best of luck as well in college.
I appreciate it.
And thanks to Anthony for all the time on this week's edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. A hugely exciting time for him, his family, and friends. And his father, by the way, TJ Tyus, played at CMU, was a really good linebacker over there in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Also currently now, and probably even more well-known for his motivational speaking. A great motivational dude. So if you need a motivational lesson or two and need to rev up your engine in so many words, he is the guy for that very need. So definitely, Anthony has a great upbringing and just a great set of shoulders to rely upon in his father as well for guidance moving forward in his career on the football field, but also off of it. And with that being said, everyone, I want to transition now into my interview with Jenna Rose and Jason Ross. And we talked about a variety of topics, including their career paths up to now, their career aspirations, and you heard a little bit about that already regarding Jason specifically and what he wants to do one day, calling a Stanley Cup Finals, but also find out about what event Jenna would love to call it one day, and who she looks up to. A lot of other topics as well we get into, including a few about the Detroit Lions. But anyways, I digress now, as let's get to my interview with Jenna and Jason. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churko, alongside Jenna Rose and Jason Ross. You almost can mess up their names because of the last part of their names and mix them up there, but I did not. And how are you both doing as well?
Funny you mentioned the name there. Jenna's a really good friend of mine. I like to say she's my sister, and she's one letter away from being my actual sister, I guess, with the last name there. So it's fun to be with you today. Pleasure to work with you over the past week or so and moving forward. So I love the podcast. I'm glad to be on.
Hey, appreciate it. Appreciate you guys being on. And realistically, we're here too because of SIL Alliance. That's how we all got united. Now, I knew Jason a little bit. Jenna, I had seen you because of state champs and all the work that you have done covering high school football, other sporting events I know as well throughout the years. But you guys have built up incredible track records and resumes up to this point. In your early 20s, I'm more in my veteran or the latter part of my 20s, per se. But I'm not 30 yet, and I'm not 40. I'm not John McAroon, our boss at SIL Alliance. But he brought us all together terrifically. So really the pleasure is ours, and because of him. So we kind of salute him a little bit here as we start off, too. And for the sake of this podcast this week, I kind of want to get into your guys' respective backgrounds and career paths that you've taken thus far. And Jenna, I'll start with you. Kind of tell me about your story and how you got into sports and this industry specifically.
I actually got recruited to play softball for Lawrence Tech, and that's when I really took a deeper dive into what they offer with the different courses. And I saw media communication, and I just realized that we interact with media every single day, whether we realize it or not. So I figured that would be a great career path for me, but I didn't necessarily know how I wanted to go about it, what path to take. So within my first 2 years, it helped me to realize, I really like this production and being on camera, and just my love for sports really took off, meeting my different professors who showed us these different career paths and heading into sports broadcasting. So I was lucky enough to land an internship with state champs when they needed interns to start LTU multimedia. So we had our own show on Fox Sports Detroit dedicated to Lawrence Tech athletics, along with state champs that was on several of the Fox Sports shows in the Midwest. So really that's how I got my kick there. And it just grew from there. I got to meet Jason, who brought me in with Detroit Sports Media Association, and my leverage there and the demo I was able to produce led me to John McAroon. So here I am with SIL Alliance.
Well, beautiful. I'm glad to hear that. And for you, Jason, now, you've done a heck of a lot already yourself. And at LTU, both at LTU, Jenna has graduated. Jason, you had told me off the air that you're almost done with school at LTU. So, hey, congrats to you, Jenna. Almost congrats to you, Jason, officially, too, with that being said. And on everything that you've accomplished as well in your career up to this point. But give me your story now, man, about how you got your start in the broadcasting industry.
Yeah, looking forward to graduating eventually, but to track back a bit, it started out with a love for sports and television and radio. So I would go to high school games and just work on my play-by-play broadcasting, which is my ultimate goal in life, to become a play-by-play broadcaster on either radio or TV. I also love on-camera reporting and radio reporting. So I went from doing high school games to beginning to work for a cable network in Southfield, and that led to some opportunities with working with Detroit Sports Media, where I was able to cover the Red Wings and Tigers and Pistons as an on-camera reporter. Kind of blossomed my skill set there, really learned a lot, still working with them. Then I started attending LTU and met Jenna and all these other wonderful people. And once again, that really just helped to blossom the skill set and learn more. I always learn from Jenna. She has this amazing, well-rounded skill set that I'm trying to pick from and grow from. And then I started doing some work for Oakland University recently on their ESPN3 broadcast as a freelancer. So I've loved doing that. And just trying to continue growing now with you guys in SIL Alliance with this beautiful new opportunity of working as a writer and doing some on-camera work as well and learning from you and John. It's been wonderful.
Well, thanks to both of you for jumping on board and making us look better at SIL Alliance, too. I mean, you got two ugly dudes, John and I, so you guys bring a better quality when it comes to the video stuff. And Jason, you're writing. Jenna, you want to get into writing as well. And you guys bring a lot to the table. And I know you guys both are multidimensional. And as we had talked, I know to both of you, and I have talked to both of you off the air too, we've talked about how it's just a beautiful thing to be as multidimensional as possible, which you guys are striving for and whatnot moving forward in your respective careers. And Jenna, how has the video work been so far for you, interviewing all these different individuals in the broadcast field, professionals and journalists that have been in the field for numerous years, tens of years? How has that been thus far for you with SIL Alliance?
been a very eye-opening experience and really immersing myself in this team. And of course, the Lions, it's really cool to be covering a team that I've been growing up around, always watching. So being able to talk to these professionals that I've seen on TV, heard on the radio, and now I'm reading their writing, and just gaining knowledge from them has been such a great experience in making these new connections. And I swear everyone that I've been able to talk to, they'll stay for a moment afterwards and just give me advice about what my next step can be, how I can improve right now with my delivery, and just taking everything in. So it's been a great experience so far, and really just making these connections. I couldn't be more happier.
Well, that's awesome. And then for you, Jason, you're a little bit newer to SL Lines and working with John and I, dealing with all our nonsense, like Jenna's had to do up to this point. But for you now, what have you learned so far? I know as a writer on that end of the spectrum, what have you learned so far just dealing with everything with covering the Lions up to this point?
I love preparation in this field, and I really feel that when you're covering a team, it's a daily process. So learning from you and John of how to constantly keep up with the news and the team and how important that is to be in tune with what's happening. And then, getting on the phone with you and just learning how to structure stories and how to keep sentences concise and little details that can take you from being good to being great. I really want to continue learning from you and John. And that's just the little details I think in this business are so important. And I've love your mind because you think of it in a very detailed fashion. So I think our phone calls are so productive because I always come away with a ton of notes on how to get better. So that's been my takeaway so far. The details, the prep, whatever it may be, it's all very important. And I love it. Love working with you guys.
And by the way, Jenna and everybody out there listening to this right now, I did not pay Jason to say all that good stuff about me. So I appreciate you saying that too, Jason. Appreciate that, man, from you. But you guys, you know what? You have a lot of just work ahead of you. And I know one of the things that you have done that you touched upon, which I didn't yet, I want to get into now, is you two working with Detroit Sports Media. Now, what did that, or how did that experience come to be for you guys? And what has that taught you thus far? And starting with you, Jenna, on that one.
I was going to say that experience for me has been, it feels independent in a way almost, because, when I'm going with state champs or work that I've done for my university, everything's kind of, I wouldn't say handed to me, but it's like pretty simple. Like, okay, you're going to go cover baseball, you're going to go do this. But when it comes to reports for DSMA, it's really interesting because we have to take the time and do a lot of research ourselves, get a feel for the other team, even if we want to find a way to tie it back to Michigan or Detroit itself. And having this experience of going to LCA, which I know I joined in January. Jason's been there for much longer. But I was, there covering the Red Wings, and just the people that we got to meet there was amazing. Everyone has been so nice to us. They've even taken us on a tour in the Fox Sports Detroit trucks. They've taken us for a tour in, all the different rooms, everything they have in there. So them being so warming and open to us, it really made that experience that much greater. And getting these reps in has just improved our demos, and getting this practice in. It's been overwhelmingly awesome.
And speaking of the demos, and it's all about that, right? Getting the experience and the work in, the reps in per se. And I can go on with different, words for it. But Jason, I know you have as well gotten your experience and your feet in the water per se through Detroit Sports Media. Can you talk about your experiences as well with the entity?
Yeah, Vito, I can't thank Detroit Sports Media enough. I mean, it's been an amazing organization. Jenna mentioned the opportunity and just how invaluable it is going down to a Red Wings game and being able to cover it as a reporter down on the bench. And like she said, it's an individual thing because you have to come up with your own prep, you have to study ahead of time. And then when you're reporting, it's up to you to film it. We're there together oftentimes. So we film each other's reports, then we'll head up and edit them. Then we have to post them. So it's really a good experience of going through that process of getting things done in a timely fashion and before a deadline. And then the reps are just so invaluable. The people that you meet, everyone's so nice, like Jenna said. You just learn a lot. And it's one of those experiences where it feels as though you can't really do it unless you do it. You have to get out there and just kind of do it. That's how it is with so many things in this field. So it really feels as though it's an experience that can kind of almost set me in my dream that I hope to have down the road, learning from guys like Ken Cal and Trevor Thompson and just everyone who's down there. Such an amazing group of people with the Red Wings and Pistons and Tigers. So I've loved it so much, and it's been wonderful working with Jenna.
And Jason, now you have a picture on your Twitter profile too. Now you guys can give your Twitter handles later on. So I want to make sure we give a plug for both of you and the outstanding work you've done up to this point too. So people can check you out there on Twitter for all your work. But anyways, your picture now. I know there is a photo of you with Jeff Rieger from 97.1 The Ticket. I think it's really cool at Little Caesars Arena there. And you worked with 97.1 The Ticket broadcasters, Ken Cal included, you said. How cool has that been, just getting to know Ken Cal and all those other broadcasters and being at those Wings games that you were talking about?
Amazing broadcasters, but even better humans. I mean, Jeff Rieger has been amazing to me. He's been a mentor, a friend, guider in situations, and I've really kind of leaned on him for advice, and I love watching them. Dan Leach and Ken Cal has let me sit right behind him in the booth, at times right next to him, and have the headset on, and just kind of the things that you take away from that experience of listening to him call the game while you're watching it. I mean, I sit back and I just kind of say, wow, how am I even here right now learning from these guys, because they're so incredible at what they do. And Ken Cal is one of the best in the business at hockey on radio. And that's one of my goals in life, is to do hockey on radio. So, I'd love to be in a position like that one day. And he is just so, so kind, such a good human. Paul Woods is amazing. I had the pleasure to chat with Paul on numerous occasions. And it really is a family feel with 97.1. I mean, everyone that works there is awesome. And just being able to sit back and take notes. I come away with 6-7 pages of notes after a single night of sitting in the booth with them. And that's really been a cool experience to grow from that, and reviewing those notes and looking back on those experiences as motivation to keep growing. That's really been amazing. So definitely shout out to the 97.1 crew, because they are amazing people.
Now for you, Jenna, who is your go-to broadcaster that you really watch and try to mold your skills after when it comes to broadcasting?
Oh, that is such a tough question, because I could probably name 100 people, but two kind of hit close to home for me. Number one, because they both got their start at state champs. So seeing these two women go on into their careers and be doing amazing things is just so heartwarming and so motivating for me. So definitely Lauren Jabara and Daniela Bruce. I'm assuming anybody who's listening has probably seen Lauren Jabara in years past in arena hosting for the Pistons. And of course, Daniela, she's doing the games over for the Red Wings. So seeing those two grow and hear their steps, like they will retrace their steps for me from how they got from state champs to where they are now, and trying to mold myself in the way similar to they are on how they perform on camera and write their reports. It's really inspiring.
Now, what is the sport that you would like to do moving forward too? Is there one sport for you, Jenna? I know Jason already had mentioned hockey. How about for you? Is there that one sport that you really would like to go professional in one day?
There definitely is. So with my softball roots, it feels like baseball is just so natural for me to, understand and want to cover. And what's interesting about that is if you go on to work for the MLB network, you will also be working for the NHL network. And the experiences I've had going to the Red Wings with Jason and just meeting everyone, seeing how nice they are, and really falling in love with hockey. What's funny was my older brother, he actually played hockey for a long time in AAA and then juniors. So it's like I literally grew up in an ice rink, but I just couldn't stand it because I always had to go. So getting to go now and watch it with these fresh eyes, it's like I get to fall in love with it for the first time. So those two mixing together is perfect. So to answer your question, baseball, but in the end, it just seems like those harmonize together very well.
So what was your first sport experience then, actually? Was it playing softball or another sport, or watching your brother? And then did you say that your brother's older than you too, Jenna? Is that true?
Yeah, so I'm talking about my older brother, Thor. I have two. So Thor played hockey. And for me, I remember when I was 3, my dad tried to get me out on the ice, and I just could not stand it. I hated it. Went on to play tennis, but that wasn't really my thing. So definitely at the age of 7, I think, is when I really started to play softball. And that's the one I just stuck with.
Jason, for you now, I got to ask the same question. What was your first sport experience?
I think it was, if I go back, to get back to the Detroit professional sports, my dad is a huge Pistons fan. So it was really, if I can harken back here to 2004, the championship team, and just watching him watch those games. I think I was just kind of obsessed with spending time with him while he was watching the games. So I think we watched almost every game of that season together. And from that point on, it was like, okay, Red Wings, Tigers, and just watching sports constantly. I was not very good when it came to actually playing the sports, but when it came to watching them, I really enjoyed that. So that was kind of my thing, watching sports with him and then continuing to grow that love. So again, not very good at actually playing them. That's Jenna's thing. But for me, I loved watching them. So just kind of kept going with that passion.
Yeah, Jenna's got us both, by the way, Jason. You and I both not very good at playing sports. I like to say that I am. I like playing baseball. It's my first love. But I see Jenna out there on the links there and just driving it like 100 miles. I mean, where did that come from, Jenna? When did you start playing golf? Because I know you're not too bad at that as well.
Yeah, no, what's crazy was I actually went out for my first to my first golf course last summer because one of my friends, his name is Josh Stein, and he plays for LTU. So I went with him and a couple of buddies, and it was crazy. We played scrambles, and I got my first birdie, a real birdie, and we all played my ball during the scramble. So it wasn't like hitting off of his shots. So I just kind of got super excited there, obviously, from that luck, right? Like, yeah, I can do this. Softball swing, totally different, but I figured out a way to get it into my golf groove, and it's a sport that I definitely love to hate. I'm really trying to take it more serious now, especially with Jeff Lesson inviting me out to golf. Oh, man, I gotta, keep it looking clean for him, right? So now I'm really taking it serious going to the driving range, and I need to get you and Jason out there with me for sure.
Well, I was going to say, Jeff Lesson can give us a lesson or two on golf, no pun intended, and I guess he has for you, Jenna, and you can teach me a few things as well. Maybe Jason as well. So would appreciate that and look forward to it maybe down the line here this summer, but also wanted to get to this with you guys. Now, Jason, you talked about the 04 Pistons, watching them, and who doesn't love the going to work 04 Pistons, right? They won that championship. Maybe should have won another one too in 05 against the Spurs. Didn't happen, but still they will go, they're in Pistons lore. They'll go down in history as one of the best Pistons teams of all time, obviously. Is there a favorite player of yours from that team, Jason? Or maybe just another favorite athlete that you've just always loved watching that played basketball or another sport?
If you want to stick with that team, interesting, I'll give you two here. I'll give you one that plays and one that was on the sidelines. So the one that plays, maybe I'll go with Chauncey Billups, just kind of the consummate pro. I mean, was really a leader that entire season. That team was just different because, it was it was a 5-man unit, and they really played together. They didn't have the one quote unquote superstar, but they really built around the guy that was on the sidelines that I'm referring to in Larry Brown, who's one of my favorite coaches of all time. And he coached numerous successful players, Allen Iverson, as I mentioned, now the Pistons team in 04. And to see him get that championship was pretty special. I kind of loved the play-by-play on that series as well. Al Michaels called that series back in 04 with Doc Rivers, I believe. So that was a cool broadcast to watch. And I loved the rhythm of the cast when I was watching it. And my dad, he was ecstatic while he was watching the game. So just kind of fell in love with that team. But maybe Chauncey Billups I'll pick out of that group.
Chauncey Billups, Big Shot Billups, the next Pistons GM too, Jason? What do you think? I mean, he's been rumored for the position. What would you think of that if he got the job?
Well, I think he would embody the organization. He loves the organization. I've heard him say, actually, for a few years now that he has been interested in that type of a role. He's a spectacular broadcaster. I love watching him on ESPN. He's done a great job with that. Doing some work with the Clippers now as well on their TV. He's doing a spectacular job with that. So, I mean, he's just a good speaker. He can influence people. He can relate to the players. He has a calm mindset. So I think he could really fit in nicely in that role as the Pistons hope to resuscitate the franchise to where it once was.
Pistons maybe hiring him or another member of that 04 team, the going to work squad that won that championship, and Tayshaun Prince, the Prince of the Palace, and I used to love calling him. Maybe one of those two individuals get that job as Pistons GM. But to you now, Jenna, how about a favorite athlete of yours that you grew up watching and loving to watch?
Okay, this is going to be slightly different because I technically couldn't really grow up watching him, but I love Bo Jackson. And I've always seen, I will watch like the same highlight tapes over and over because he just looks like a beast. And seeing all the accolades that he had, even back in high school, different records he's set, and just watching, he's a big guy, and watching him just be fast, running and catch the ball for baseball and everything he's done in football. It's definitely a heartbreak with that injury happening to him back in the day, but always wondering what could have been, but that's just kind of someone I've just, idolized. Like I would love to interview him one day.
A legend and a baseball and football player, and great at both. And it kind of, brings up this topic now too, the multi-sport athlete. which is now becoming a trend, something that is happening much more often again. Used to happen, and then you started having this trend of people just, specifically focusing on one sport. Now it's back to playing as many sports, being a dual sport athlete, maybe even playing 3 sports if you can. What do you guys think about that topic and how it can enhance the overall game of an individual athlete, male or female? And Jenna, first with you on that one.
Translating that into professional work, I think it's a great idea. We've seen great athletes in the past who have done it. Deion Sanders, and I know Mookie Betts arguably as well, putting in the work. So I think it's a great idea. I like it. I don't mind it.
And I think it's something that should happen. I think it helps out these guys. And in last year's NFL draft, I think you had like 20 plus of the guys that were drafted by the 32 teams in the first round that played more than one sport, Jason. So think about that and how it can impact a guy going into the NFL or going into another sport and developing all of your bones, your muscles throughout your life as you grow up. And it can make that impact and I think help you persevere and succeed as you go into college and go into your professional sports career. But anyways, I digress. And now your thoughts on that very topic.
Vito, I think that I've heard a lot of pro athletes talk about in terms of how they're kind of raising their kids as athletes, saying that, playing one sport isn't necessarily the way to go. If you can get in multiple sports from, one season to the next, you become a more well-rounded skill set, perhaps for the sport that you want to focus on. You maybe don't burn out so easily in that one sport. One of my favorite athletes right now, Russell Wilson, I believe was in the Yankees organization at one point. So he grew up playing baseball and now he's with the Seattle Seahawks, obviously won a Super Bowl. I've heard CeCe Sabathia, who, just retired. He talks about how he wants his kids playing multiple sports. So I think perhaps maybe that's more conducive to success as a human in terms of your health. So you're not, just entrenched in one thing all the time. And then maybe you discover something that you really like if you try out multiple sports as opposed to sticking in just one. So yeah, I'd have to err on the side of multiple sports as opposed to just one, and you become a better athlete, obviously, from doing that.
And you brought up my man, Russell Wilson. I love that guy, watching him play. I mean, a dual quarterback, dual threat QB, can run, beat you on the ground, beat you through the air, make those game-breaking, just hugely terrific plays to win the Seahawks games. And he's one of the best players in the NFL right now, which leads me into my next topic for the two of you. And it's, who is the best player in the NFL today, in your opinion? And Jason, I'll start with you, which is a thought-provoking topic. Yeah, I didn't really tell you guys ahead of time, so think about it here too. Don't mind me. Think about it for a second or two if you have to as well.
Let's see.
First, offensive. How about that to make it easier? The best offensive player in the NFL. Who do you think that is, Jason?
Well, Patrick Mahomes he's sparkling right now. I mean, you had just what he does on the field. It's magical. You think of some of the other younger guys in the NFL, it seems to be erring on the side of being able to do multiple things as a quarterback, getting away from out of the pocket and perhaps expanding the game into a more offensive, exciting, magical type of feel. You think of Lamar Jackson in Baltimore winning the MVP and what he can do. I think that position is really evolving and it's turning into something new and perhaps a bit more exciting. A guy like Drew Brees in the Saints, he's seemingly ageless. So I think that as the game keeps growing, players will adapt with it. And maybe it's a bit more of a fun watch for people down the road here as it does continue to evolve.
And it seems like a quarterback's league and guys like you said, Jason, already that really can do it all, right? Can run and beat you on the ground, can beat you through the air when playing the quarterback position, such as Patrick Mahomes just won a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. Lamar Jackson, last year's NFL MVP. These young athletes are like the best guys at QB, it seems like right now, Jenna. And who is your favorite offensive player right now? And actually, who would you say is the best one, the best offensive player right now in the NFL?
I really wish I could say Stafford here. Arguably for most improved, but I'm going to have to piggyback off of Jason here with Patrick Mahomes. Just, the most recent accolade of having the Super Bowl, and that's just pretty much it.
No, easy as that. I really agree. And there's so many great guys to pick from. Even Drew Brees, you brought him up with the Saints, Aaron Rodgers, the Packers, maybe Matthew Stafford has a comeback year. And what do we expect from him in 2020? Jen, I know you're new to the scene, you're covering the Lions, but you've now covered Stafford a little bit, talked about him with Jason as well as part of a video the other day, and kind of talking about who's going to throw more touchdown passes out of Rodgers and him. How about Stafford in 2020? What are you expecting from him?
Expecting a lot from him, and obviously the rest of Detroit and the NFL is. I mean, the team went 0-8 without him last year, and with having Darrell Bevell in his corner, he was putting up great numbers before he had his injury. So I'm happy to hear right now that he's feeling good and 100% ready to go for this upcoming season, because hopefully with this time during the off season, everybody's looking over the schemes. We're all gelling together, especially with the new additions to our defense and to the Lions offense. I'm thinking all this together, we are going to have a successful 2020.
And I think, Jason, the stats for Stafford last year were 21 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Very impressive. And then he's on pace for 5,000 yards maybe, even if he would have kept up what he performed last year in 8 games before he got hurt in week 9 against the Raiders. So this guy, if healthy for a full season, Jason, I mean, he could put up epically good numbers and even be a borderline MVP candidate. Your thoughts on Stafford in 2020?
Yeah, Vito, you mentioned the touchdown numbers. I think he had 7 less than Aaron Rodgers, despite only playing half the amount of games that Rodgers played. So, I mean, you look at the potential that was developing there in Darrell Bevell's offense, as Jenna just said, you step into year 2, improved assets around him. I think the excitement for this offense is ample, and for good reason. I mean, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones Jr., Kenny Golladay led the NFL in receiving touchdowns a year ago. I think this is going to be a really good red zone offense, perhaps, with the newly acquired DeAndre Swift through the draft, with a 1-2 punch at running back. Marvin Jones Jr. is a really nice physical receiver in those jump ball type situations to haul down passes inside the 20. And then, Stafford, if they can, with his skill set, you push the ball down the field, just cater to his skill set. And I think he could rack up the yards once again in year 12. It could be really, really prolific. So I'm looking forward to watching this offense. I'm genuinely excited to watch this offense. It'll be a matter if they can stop people defensively and actually back that up. But on offense, there is no reason to believe, barring injury, that this couldn't be a special year.
And Jason, like you said, entering his 12th year in the league, and then he's got Kenny Golladay to throw it around with. I mean, he had 11 touchdowns, right? NFL high, like you already mentioned. The veteran slot receiver and Danny Amendola, Marvin Jones Jr. for a deep threat. All these guys, weapons of plenty, and then the ground attack and adding DeAndre Swift from Georgia, the second-round pick for the Lions this year. So you got him and Kerryon Johnson, the incumbent number 1 back in the backfield. 2 of them, that could be a great and dynamic duo in the backfield for Darrell Bevell and company with that Lions offense in 2020. So the offense, I think, will be able to click on all cylinders as long as Stafford is healthy ultimately. Defensively, though, that is a bigger question, something you just kind of segged into for myself here with the 2 of you, Jason, by bringing it up. And what do you think about that and the defense performing at a high enough level for the Lions to sustain success in 2020?
I think that they'll probably have to switch up the schemes a bit. There was a lot of man-to-man defense last year, and if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, that's pretty dangerous to leave your corners on an island for that long. So you have to see some improved pressure from the defensive line. I think that's the main thing. Can't let a QB be that comfortable. I mentioned the transition into more of an offensive game here in the NFL. You have some tough receivers you're facing through the first few weeks of the season. I think those first 4 games are really important because you don't want to start 0-2 in this league. You don't want to start 1-3. So I think that moving forward, that if you can, what I do like about the offseason is bringing in Corey Undlin, because he's a defensive backs guy by nature. So you draft Jeff Okudah, and now he is perhaps your successor to Darius Slay, the former number 1 shutdown corner for Detroit. So slot him in there, and now you see his development perhaps in accordance with Corey Undlin. And then on the other side, you have Trufant and Duron Harmon in the secondary, some younger guys in the secondary. So hopefully, I think it really depends on if they can get more pressure on the quarterback. And then perhaps that is more conducive, obviously, to your corners not being on an island for so long. So I think just development, I don't think it happens overnight. So that's the hard part. But I think that it could happen. There is very much a potential for it to happen. And I think you could see an uptick in wins next year for this Lions team.
Now, Jenna, you've talked to a variety of experts through your video series with SIL Lions about the Lions and their defense. And what have they told you about how well the defense could perform in 2020?
Right. So the perfect person that I can think of for this description was Sean Baligian, who's a part of Lions Radio, WJR, and he was relating to teams in the NFL like we're all on this big elevator, right? So some teams are going up and some are going down. And he related to the Lions as having, they're due for an up right now. And he agrees with you when it comes to that the defensive line and just our defense in general is such a big question mark. But looking at some of the vets and the rookies that we have, I mean, Trey Flowers, he was ranked 4th for his pass rush win rate percent, and I think ranked 5 with PFF. And we got rookies like Julian Okora on the defensive end. So I think with some of these new additions and hopefully some of these vets, we can string something together.
Yeah, we need the improved pass rush. I mean, Jason said it, and I'll label it even more definitively, but it was anemic a year ago. Trey Flowers led with 7.5 sacks. The defense tying actually with Devon Kennard, the former linebacker who got released. So now they got Flowers and who else on that line, right? They can rush the passer in a very effective fashion. So that's a big-time task ahead for the Lions defensively speaking. For Corey Unlin, as you mentioned, Jason, too, the new defensive coordinator in Motown, and then head coach Matt Patricia. And is Matt Patricia on the hot seat now as well, going into his 3rd year on the job? Team hasn't been that great through his first 2 seasons. And most games they've won in a single season with him as the head man is 6, and that was already 2 years ago. So do you think Matt Patricia is on the hot seat entering the 2020 season? Jason?
I think that it hasn't quite lived up to the expectations that we thought it would going into this season or going into his tenure in Detroit. So as you mentioned, the record isn't quite where you'd want it to be. So heading into this year, again, barring any injuries to Matt Stafford, if you don't see perhaps at least 7-8 wins, I think that question does get raised. Yeah, you only had 3 wins this season ago. There's some youth, but when you bring back your quarterback who you were 3-4-1 with, that's what people can point to. If you had him for an entire season and there isn't a significant improvement in terms of the win total, that's when there, I believe, is some danger in terms of the tenure of Matt Patricia. But I think he's a good coach. I love his mentality and his approach to the game. I love how he's constantly learning. He'll be the first one to tell you that, hey, if there's anyone who needs to improve in this room, it's me. That's what he'll tell you. So I think that if he carries that mentality into next year, which I know he will, then it could be a successful year for the Lions. But I do believe there needs to be an uptick in wins. I think you need to surpass that 6 that you had, that you mentioned, Vito.
Yeah, a mandate now from ownership, the Ford family, to be a playoff contender in 2020. What does it actually constitute, right? More than 6, is it 8 wins, though? Is it 9? Is it 10? Is it definitely making the playoffs? So let me ask you guys this too, actually, regarding the Lions and coverage, from the coverage perspective. For you, Jason, first year, what are you really looking forward to as the season does actually kick off? What are you looking forward to covering the Lions and for Detroit sports media or whomever it may be come the fall?
I think just the experience, the opportunity, it's been so wonderful, as I mentioned, working with you guys. And so growing and learning more about the NFL. And I think I've always loved this league. So, and then the other sports with Detroit sports media, that experience has been so invaluable, as I said. So continuing to grow and get reps and getting the reporting reps and play-by-play reps, that's what I love about it. You got to just keep doing it and getting better. And it's fun work. It's fun. I'd like to not call it work because it's so fun. I love working with you guys. So I think that's for the most part, what I'm looking forward to is continuing to work with you guys because it's so fun.
Well, it's beautiful, man. You say that, and it's a passion of yours. I love hearing that. And, speaking of that and broadcasting, what is one big event you would like to call in your lifetime? Any kind of big event in the professional sports world, the collegiate sports world? Is there that one event that you really aspire to call one day?
Yeah, I think I have to go with the Stanley Cup Finals on either TV or radio. That would be my goal, to do the Stanley Cup Finals. I love the rush of hockey. I love the fan bases. I love a 7-game series. It's something I'm really missed around this time of the year, but I've been watching old games, studying some of Ken Cowell's old calls to the Stanley Cup Finals in 08 and 09 and 02. And hearing Ken talk about that has been amazing. So I think that's perhaps a goal of mine. I know Jenna will be working a World Series one day. I can see her doing that in no time. And I think I'd have to maybe go with the Stanley Cup Finals if I could pick one.
Now, radio or TV, by the way, Jason, for you preferably? It sounds like radio. Am I right in saying that, or there's no preference for you right now, for the most part?
perhaps not have a preference. I love radio, but I love TV as well. They're just different mediums. You can do different things. They're beautiful in their own ways. They're unique in their own ways. They're lovely in their own ways. So I think that, if I could pick one, maybe radio, because it's just so pure. But I love TV as well. It's amazing. It's like you're creating a live movie almost. There's a symphony between the producer, the broadcasters, the camera people, the directors. It's like this one big, lovely picture coming together. And when it's done well, it really is gorgeous.
Jenna, for you, what is that one event that you would love to call one day?
Oh, definitely, Jason. He called it there with World Series. But, now since I'm kind of starting to get a taste of football and, I still have a lot to learn and a long way to go, but that Super Bowl, that's sounding pretty good right now. Football is definitely a lot of fun. So I think that'd be a great experience to maybe one day have down the road.
And would love to have it happen for the Lions. They're still awaiting a Super Bowl appearance. So we hope we get that one time in our respective lifetimes. We're young people here. So I think it will happen one day for us, Jenna and Jason. Now, speaking of broadcasters and play-by-play men, you started talking about some of them, Jason, yourself, and specifically with hockey. But is there one guy that you think right now is the best broadcaster out there that can call a variety of sports? Is there one guy for you that really sticks out that you can say right now on Sundays with Dominic and Vito is the best broadcaster in the land?
And before I get into that, I kind of want to compare him to Jenna. Has this amazing, well-rounded skill set. And I think this guy that I'm about to talk about has a well-rounded skill set. And I could definitely see Jen doing a Super Bowl as well, World Series, whatever she may do, because she's got such a bright future ahead. But on your note, Vito, I think that maybe Mike Tirico is someone who I really admire because of his ability to go from sport to sport. And if you put him on, the Kentucky Derby, he'll do that. If you put him on the Indy 500, he'll do that. If you have him go to Tokyo next summer and do the Olympics, he'll do that. And he's amazing. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting him once at a Red Wings Canadiens game prior to the game and talked to him about tennis. And tennis is one of my goals to work in one day. So I'd like to be versatile. I'd love to do the Olympics one day. I had the pleasure of calling the Horizon League swimming and diving championships a few months ago. And I learned quite a bit from Dan Hicks from NBC heading into that. And, Dan does swimming, skiing, whatever it may be. He'll do it, tennis. So I think learning from people like that has really helped out. Mike can also do studio hosting. I want to be someone who a network can put on a studio job and a play-by-play job. I love play-by-play, but I love reporting as well. So Mike can do studio, Football Night in America, which we'll all be watching when the season rolls around. And he can also, do some tennis play-by-play at the French Open. So I'd have to go with perhaps Mike Tirico there for one of my favorites when it comes to going from sport to sport.
Well, yeah, golf, tennis, hockey. I mean, he's even done hockey now. He picked it up this past season or last season and was great. First time ever calling the game on NBCSN. It was terrific. He was like the best of the best besides for Doc Emmerich all of a sudden. And then, like you said, hosting skills. He does it all, man. And taking over for Bob Costas, I know now as a studio host for the Olympics, and he would have been in Tokyo this summer, will be now next summer for NBC anchoring their coverage. So I think, honestly, he is the best broadcaster in the land right now. And he's a guy that's called Monday Night Football, as you know, for ESPN, will be the successor to Al Michaels on Sunday Night Football, and I think deservedly so as well. So he's my pick. You kind of stole my thunder there, Jason, with picking him, but I'll let it slide this time here. No worries about that. And to you, Jenna, switching it to you, who do you think is the best broadcaster out there right now?
Well, this is a household name, so I don't think you'll be surprised, but I like Erin Andrews.
Hey, she's good. She is very good. And she can host. I mean, she does it all, too. She's done Dancing with the Stars, too. And, I mean, entertainment, sports, anybody like that, right, that is just so darn multidimensional, it leads to more jobs down the line. And she's always got a job, seemingly, too, with that being said, Jenna.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely powerful to be diverse in the way that she is. And her herself has had to overcome adversity, and she's gone through a lot in her career, just still to be so strong and so passionate about what she does. Like, that's why we want to do this, because we're passionate about sports. We're passionate about telling stories and staying in touch with everybody.
Jenna, now, besides for sports, is there something else you would like to do, like reporting-wise, broadcasting-wise? Because I know you love EA. So, I mean, is there an entertainment future for you? You know, something like that, or Hollywood, or being on the red carpet one day even. Because I know you brought up, once again, you brought up Erin Andrews, so it made me think of that as well.
No, yeah, that would be fun. I know something that I've done in the past was GMC Buick. I hosted their live stream for the Woodward Dream Cruise, and that was so fun. And I had no idea what I was talking about when it came with cars, right? But just the fact I got to meet so many different people, interview people who them and their parents have been going to this event for years and years and get to tell those stories. That was so exciting to me. So even it doesn't have to necessarily be, around cars, obviously, but I know esports is a big up and coming thing. And I think something where I can take it as an opportunity to learn, maybe not something I'm necessarily well versed in, just the journey itself. I'm open to all those opportunities in entertainment.
Speaking of esports, I wish I could play them because people are making millions of dollars now, guys. And I stink at video games. I just wish I could make a little bit of that money that those guys are making that are really good. And now it's televised as well, which is incredible. So now you can actually be a broadcaster, commentator for that. And it's not a hobby, though, of mine. It's not something unique about me. But I want to get to this now for the final topic for the two of you. Something unique about each of you that many people do not know. And starting with you, Jenna, on this one. And this is kind of, I know, a thought-provoking topic. So I'll let you, maybe think about it if you have to as well.
I got two almost. I can unicycle and I can juggle, not at the same time, separately. Is that what you mean? Just something random?
That is unique. That is really unique. I wish I could do that too. That's really incredible. Now I gotta ask you now a follow-up regarding that. When did you actually start doing that? That's impressive, Jenna, to say the least.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely have to send you some videos. So for juggling, it was in high school, my freshman year, my English teacher, she would pull out these random juggling balls and do them during class, like really simple, just 3. And I was floored. I was like, wow, that is so cool. She is so cool. And then she'd teach me after class. And then me being the extra person that I am, started a juggling club at my high school. So the goal of the club was to teach other students how to juggle. So then it evolved from teaching other students how to do simple juggling to then doing tricks. So that's how I started with juggling. And then my dad told me when he was younger, he had a unicycle. I don't even know really how that originated, but him and his friend would go up and down the block with them. They'd ride him around. And me, I think I was in 7th grade. I was like, wow, that's so cool. So then for Christmas that year, he got me one. So I just enjoy picking up random things. They're fun to learn.
And now Jenna has to teach you 2 things now, golfing and juggling, Jason. Okay, so she's got that now to teach me 2 things there. But for you, Jason, what is one unique thing about you that many people do not know?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I can top Jen. She's got some amazing skill sets.
That's pretty good. That'll be hard to top. Yeah. I'll tell you this much. I couldn't top it. Could not top those 2 things.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm trying. I'm not there yet. My goal is to be trilingual. I want to learn French and Swedish. So those are the 2 languages that I'm trying to kind of work on right now. And hopefully, I don't know if that's unique or not. A lot of people speak different languages. So I don't know if that's too unique, but just trying to do that and to hopefully make myself somewhat unique. But yeah, that's my thing right now. Let's see. No, I can't really think of anything else. Maybe I'll have to learn the juggling skills from Jen. She's amazing, by the way. I've seen videos. It really is pretty incredible.
So you've seen her. She is good. And I'll take you at your word. And I guess she takes that round of the most incredible, unique thing about the 3 of us, because I can't top that myself. So, Jenna, you win that there to end this discussion on Sundays with Dominic and Vito. And, guys, with that being said, terrific stuff from the 2 of you. Let's stay in touch. I know we will because of SIL Lions. And keep up the great work as well at SIL Lions, what you guys do at Detroit Sports Media, cover, I know, the Tigers' #1 overall selection and Spencer Torkelson on Friday. And that's really awesome in itself. And once again, just keep up the great work. Have a great night here, and we'll talk again soon. And guys, that's all she wrote on this week's episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. And once again, this has been episode 30, the big 3-0 of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. And as usual, for the last 20 or so weeks, once again, without my brother, Dominic Churko. But always a stellar time for me just, talking to you guys without anybody alongside for the ride too. So always fun just getting the chance to rap a little bit and interview stellar guests, including the 3 that joined me for episode 30. And that would be, once again, Anthony Tyus III, going to be a senior running back at Portage Northern this fall. And then you just heard from Jenna Rose and Jason Ross of SIL Lions, but also of Detroit Sports Media. Great stuff from the 3 of them. And guys, with that being said, continue to stay safe and healthy. I'll talk to you again next week for another episode of the podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you.